rounded up a whole bunch of these cases in which people in the Trump mob who attacked the Capitol were allowed not only to walk away and go home after the attack that day, like they all were, but then when some of these folks were arrested back home, we have seen again and again that local courts have decided that those people should be freed on their own recognizance. And in multiple cases now, federal prosecutors in D.C. have asked judges in D.C. to overturn those orders and, in fact, keep these defendants in custody. I mean, you just saw that happen in the tour de force that we got from D.C. District Court's Chief Judge Beryl Howell. That was the case of the guy in Pelosi's office, the guy with the stun gun we now know in Pelosi's office. That same federal judge in D.C. also overrode a local decision in Tennessee, where a judge there decided to free the zip tie guy, the guy with all the plastic handcuffs. What were you going to do with those? That guy, turns out, was also armed with a stun gun. He's described by prosecutors as having stashed additional weapons in the bushes just outside the Capitol. A judge in Tennessee looked at all that and said it was fine to send him home. Judge in D.C. said basically, oh, my God, are you kidding? No, he is staying in custody. So he is in custody. Same thing with the guy in the QAnon shirt who chased Officer Eugene Goodman up the stairs just off the Senate floor, just feet away from the office in which Mike Pence had been taken by the Secret Service. Turns out when that guy kept sticking his hand in his pocket during that confrontation while he was menacing Officer Eugene Goodman, why did he keep putting his hand in his pocket while he was doing that? Well, we now know. Look at the knife he had in his pocket while he was menacing that officer. Despite knowing that, despite that evidence, a judge back home in Iowa said to release this guy and let him go home. A federal judge in D.C. had to swoop in at the request of federal prosecutors and say, no, he is not going to be sent home. He is going to be in custody. Same goes for a guy arrested in New Jersey, accused of beating police officers inside the Capitol and found to have been armed, found to have had a collapsible baton to better beat police officers with. A court in New Jersey said, oh, well, it's just beating police officers with a weapon inside the Capitol building while it was being overrun by these guys who were trying to violently overthrow the government. You know what? It was 3 weeks ago. Let's let him go home. A D.C. federal judge again intervened there to say, no, that guy needs to stay in custody while his trial is pending, overriding the judge in New Jersey who said to send him home. I mean, basically everybody who attacked the government, everybody who attacked Congress and the Capitol building just walked away on January 6th. But a lot of them got arrested and got charged once they got home. And we have been watching local news stories all over the country ever since. Local news coverage in North Texas, in California, in Missouri, in Pennsylvania, in Massachusetts, in West Virginia, in New Mexico, in Florida, in Arkansas, in Delaware, in Cleveland, Ohio, all people who participated in the attack on the government. We now have all this footage from local news of them having their houses raided, being arrested, and in some cases turning themselves in, having their arraignments and their court appearances. And even in the case of those charged with serious stuff, you know, people having weapons and physically attacking police officers and stealing stuff from the Capitol, there is this recurring theme now of even the people charged with the most serious stuff being let out after their initial arrest. And so we have seen repeatedly federal judges in D.C. overturning those local decisions in an increasing number of cases and saying, no, these people need to be